I'm sorry for that little hiccup, but anyway, it was time to take a break because it's 42 minutes in. I do these in 45-minute intervals anyway. But I had to answer the phone call. It was very important, but now I'm back. So let's just get to it, okay? It'll be about 20 to half an hour anyway. About Soul Train Wars. We'll start off there. So that's the first time that Tupac actually saw Biggie after the Quad Studio shooting, and him kind of insinuating that Biggie was involved. I don't think Tupac believed Biggie was involved, but Biggie releasing Who Shot You, the interviews he did, and kind of set Tupac off, a lot. So Tupac was very mad and on some war shit and on some kill a motherfucker shit. So the riding in the red Hummer, I think it's March 29th, 96. So this is right in the middle of everything. Right in the middle of Tupac and Biggie's beef that was kind of really getting out of control by this point. And Dr. Dre had already left the company. Snoop had just beat a murder trial thanks to Suge, basically. There was an interview, but I won't go into that anyway about the Malik shit and Snoop. I want to get straight to the Soul Train Awards. So Tupac and Suge are riding in the Hummer. They know Biggie's going to be there, but they get pissed off because Biggie actually opens up the show. And Biggie's on stage, fucking rapping with his junior mafia group. And then he's kind of cocky on stage. He's like, Brooklyn's in the house, and I've got to represent my borough. And he has like a smirk on his face. You just look at Biggie's face. Even though he's got a lazy eye, you can still like tell what he's kind of like, yeah, I'm in LA. What the fuck are you gonna do about it? That kind of thing. Like, we can come out to your shit. Nothing's happened. We're here on stage. Where are these death row guys at? They're not fucking here. Well, they were on the way to the fucking show, but they heard from some security guy or something. Suge Knight told Tupac that Biggie's opening up the show and Biggie's going to win loads of awards and shit like that. So Suge made it clear that Tupac had to win one award. That's what I've heard. So Tupac won one award that night, but Biggie won 6. But Tupac was like, fuck that motherfucker, that fat fuck. Because at the end of the day, I've sold 6 million records, and that's all that matters. Not an award show, which is right, because award shows are usually fixed. And, the Source Awards and all that, they're very biased. They didn't really nominate West Coast artists much. I mean, that's that Source Awards where Suge said that infamous thing. Biggie won like fucking 10 awards that night. But yeah, Biggie won like 6, opened up the show, and it was supposed to actually be Tupac that opened up the show. And Tupac now is dressed in army fatigue, and there's for a reason, because when Tupac got robbed and shot 5 times from some dudes in Brooklyn, they were all wearing army fatigues. So Tupac wanted to get his revenge. He knew that I believe Puffy knew because he was on another floor than Biggie that night. Puffy was with henchmen. If you look at that video, he's talking to henchmen in a CCTV video. So yeah, I think Puffy knew in advance, not Biggie. I don't think Biggie did, because what I heard is Biggie actually kept Tupac's guns that night and hid them. I heard from somewhere that, and there's loads of stories about Biggie from Tupac's father himself, Billy Garland, that Biggie went to the hospital and actually tried to see Tupac, but couldn't at the time. So, anyway, but Tupac, by then, it's out of control, man. It's gone too far by now. Like, there's not really much turning back. It's what for Tupac, definitely. For Biggie, he's kind of still like, this guy will come to his senses. I think that's what Biggie was on. I don't think he was on I think some of it he was on that because he knew that, he was the king of New York. Well, that's what he said he was. Other rappers from New York took issue with that. That's for another story altogether. But I think Biggie wanted to, make peace with Tupac. But at the same time, he sent a lot of subliminal disses to Tupac's way. So I don't know, man. It's weird with Biggie. You know, it's weird. Was it? I think though he really wanted to patch things up with Tupac, but I think Tupac was really wanted to like discipline Biggie, destroy him. I think Tupac's mission was to destroy Biggie in the music and destroy Puffy in real life and Henchman and Haitian Jack and all that. So Tupac's dressed his army fatigue. He's like the whole caravan of mob Pyrus, like hundreds of them, not hundred, like over 100 of them, riding in cars. Everyone's there. Tupac strapped. Everyone's got guns. They're like, fuck it, man. Tupac's pissed. He hears on the radio, he's like, Suge, let's rush the motherfucking stage. Like, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go on the stage in live TV and drag Biggie off the stage and stomp him out. That's what they were planning to do. Tupac, the mob Pyrus, and Suge Knight. Suge Knight would have done anything, though. Suge Knight, like, you know, like at the Christmas party, you know, Suge Knight said that everyone went up the stairs to beat this Mark Bell up, but Suge Knight stayed behind. So the story about him pissing in glass is clearly not true, because Suge Knight said he is the only one who didn't touch him. So, I don't know. I think Suge Knight would have kind of de-escalated the situation, because he is a very, very, you know, reasonable guy. Well, he is. I'm being serious. He's a reasonable guy, but, you know, he's the only one who wouldn't have done anything. I don't know. Anyway, so Suge actually goes along with it. He's like, yeah, we'll fucking do that then. So Biggie's like performing on stage. At the time that Biggie's performing, they pull up Tupac and 100 of Death Row Bloods, mob Pyrus and shit. They try and get in, but the security at the event, like the Nation of Islam and other security there, are like saying that Biggie know what's happening. Obviously, they're clued up on what real beef between Bad Boy and Death Row. And Saucer Wars that year got cancelled because of the last Saucer Wars. So everyone was like, we can't have these two. It's going to be a fucking shootout or something if we have these two camps under one roof. So Tupac couldn't get in. So Biggie got his award, said Brooklyn, then walked out with Junior Mafia, and there's a guy who's with him, one of his close friends called C. Gutter. He'll come into play. And the bodyguard who was with Puffy, you know, he's on loads of interviews, Big Gene, was with Puffy. So Tupac and Suge know that they have to come out one. So they wait outside, basically, waiting for him to come out of the back door. I think, yeah, whatever, heard. I don't know how the Shrinatorium is, but obviously there's a rear entrance and there's a parking lot. And Tupac and the Death Row entourage waited there for Bad Boy to leave because they knew they had to leave. And they did. I don't know, maybe less than half an hour later, they left. They were through what they'd done. They wanted to fuck off back to New York as quick as possible because they knew they were outnumbered and they were going to get fucked up if they stayed any longer, in my opinion. So they walk out the rear door to the parking lot and boom! Suge Knight puts his foot on the accelerator and the Hummer drives a couple of yards. Fucking stops like about 100 yards from where Biggie, Junior Mafia and the Bad Boy camp are out. As soon as that happens, Puffy runs. This is what I hear, and I've heard so many stories about this. Puffy runs and Big Gene goes after him. Like, why are you running? Because Puffy sees Tupac before anyone does. Biggie, on the other hand, don't do shit. Biggie stands there and wants to have a conversation with Tupac. But Biggie in an interview said he was shocked because as soon as Tupac came like 100 yards with him, he got stuck his head out the Hummer and was throwing up like West Side signs and saying, "You're on the West Coast now, West Side outlaw, you fat fuck." Just saying everything to Biggie's face, what he said on record. Basically, Tupac was saying and said, "We've got to settle this right now. Let's settle this right now." And Biggie said that Tupac had a fucking wild look on his eyes, like, you know, the Bishop. he said that Tupac reminded him of what the role that he played, Bishop. And Biggie said, man, he was playing that gangster fucking role to a T. And Biggie was like respected that. He was like, these death row guys are actually they are for real. They play that shit for real. But Biggie, to Biggie's credit, he stood there and didn't flinch at all. And there's so many stories about that. Even Suge Knight said Biggie was just stood there. So there's fucking Bad Boy are outnumbered. Tupac's like walking towards Biggie saying, "We sell this shit right now." And one of Biggie's best friends called C Gutter, I think he's a East Coast Crip, you know, he pulls out a gun to shoot Tupac. And then, who is it? The head of security. Yeah, Reggie Wright. Yeah, he does podcasts. Reggie Wright. He was the guy who was the head of security at Death Row. And everyone was like, you know, saying this shit that he had something to do with Tupac's murder. That is just bullshit. I mean, I've listened to Reggie Wright and there's so many interviews. It's no. Biggie's murder, I don't know. I cannot say. I weren't there. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But Tupac's murder, definitely fucking not. I mean, I don't know much about Reggie Wright other than the interviews, you know. I've got no, you know. I think a lot of this stuff that I've heard Reggie Wright said is probably factual. But I do like listening to Suge Knight because he's entertaining. So, you know. Anyway, Reggie then pulls a gun on C Gutter. Reggie actually says that it was Keefy D, but I think he got that wrong. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think he got that wrong. Whether he's admitted that, I'm not sure. Maybe he has. I don't know. But it was actually C Gutter. It weren't Keefy D. To my knowledge, Keefy D weren't there that night. That's all bullshit. That any Southside Crips were there that night. But I'm not sure. It could have been. Well, I think Keefy D even said he weren't there that night. He said if he was there, then we would have opened fire on the motherfuckers. Okay? See, I'm not saying anything, you know, towards the N-word. You know, I'm not going to, because it's very disrespectful and anything but racists. I hate racist people. I hate, you know, anything to do with race. I think that's the problem with this world. Anyway, I'm just saying I'm not, you know, when you think I'm going to say the word, you know I'm not, I'm going to say something else. And that's in my book as well. I don't say the N-word. I say every other foul word you can say, but anything racist, I just don't go for that. So, yeah, but Tupac's like, so what? It's like, Tupac's like, give me the gun, Reggie, according to people and Biggie. Tupac's like, give me the gun, Reggie, I'll shoot this motherfucker, meaning C Gutter, who's got the gun out. And Tupac's like, allegedly the newspaper reported that Tupac actually pulled a gun on Biggie. Biggie later said no, he didn't, but was very aggressive towards him and was like, yo, Biggie was actually shocked a bit because he was like, shit, this is really serious. This guy is actually serious. You know, I don't think Biggie knew, to be honest, that Tupac was that serious about it. I think he was like, oh, he's just doing this to make records. I mean, that's what people thought. He thought, oh, he's just clowning around. He's a fucking actor. He's making records. He's just trying to get more publicity and sell more records. But that night just totally blew that theory away. Tupac was very hurt and very, very pissed at Bad Boy Records in particular. You know? And it was very real. Because that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't. Tupac was ready to get that gun out of Reggie's hand and probably shoot Biggie and C Gutter. So, I don't know how long this confrontation lasted. Nothing physical actually happened. I think Nation Islam got in between them all and held them back, and then C Gutter and Biggie like fucked off. But then Suge Knight and Tupac entered the building, and Gene and I think they walk up a walkway, which was described as like a walkway from the rear door up a walkway that leads you into the auditorium, to the backstage area. and I think on the walkway there's like an incline, and I think this is what I think Gene said, and I believe Gene because I think he's a thorough guy. So Gene, because he never ever changes his story, just Gene. So I kind of believe what he says, and other people have said it as well. Reggie's even said that Puffy ran. So they're all Tupac's entourage still there. They walk in, Nation of Islam obviously trying, walking behind them so nothing else happens. But I don't think that Tupac saw Puffy. Tupac was approaching maybe 50 yards away, and then Puffy jumped from from a railing, like about 20 feet below to the ground where all the news camera people were in the parking lot, and ran across the parking lot. Suge saw him. I don't think Tupac saw him. I'm not sure. Maybe Tupac did see him, but Suge definitely saw him run and said to Tupac, "Yeah, fucking Puffy ran." Puffy, according to Suge and Reggie Wright, Puffy, and I think Gene Deal said, "Yeah, Puffy hid behind a car." And Gene was just stood there with his gun, but probably didn't even notice Gene. I don't know. I don't know how they just walked past him, but they probably didn't notice him. Probably didn't know who he was. He's in the background. He's a bodyguard. So yeah, Puffy ran basically and hid under a car. And then as soon as like the Death Row entourage passed Gene followed Puffy, and then Puffy they went back to some, I think, a guy called a gangster that Gene knew very well called Chaz. He went up to his house, or was on the phone, went up to some guy's house. And Puffy had a friend who had a house in the Hollywood Hills or something. He went up there, and Gene is like Gene's on the phone to his guy. He's got a gangster guy from New York called Chaz, and he's telling him that Puffy ran and, the situation with Tupac and Biggie. And Puffy's like walking upstairs and overhears it and gets pissed off. Like his ego is really hurt, probably. He's fragile. We all know that the Diddler's got a very fragile ego. So his ego's hurt because like, I didn't know. Yeah, you clearly did, like a bitch that you are. You fucking ran like a hoe. Because you are a hoe. And you're probably getting fucked right now in the fucking wherever you are. So Puffy was scared for his life. And this tells you, because I think I don't know why Deal would lie about this. I mean, Chaz even said it. So it's not just Gene who said this. The Chaz said it, and the other guy that was with Gene said it. That Puffy said, "I don't give a fuck if Suge Knight goes to jail, or Tupac gotta die, or even Biggie has gotta die. I cannot go on like this anymore." And Puffy kept saying, "I've got all these big white executives. The guy's dick I sucked to get in the music industry, Clive Davis. Diddler sucked his dick and got fucking rammed doggy style. Spent a lot of the time on his fucking stomach with his ass up, while fucking Andre Harrell just drilled him. How the fuck did Puffy get into that position? He was a nobody. Come on, man. Puffy got fucked. Puffy. That's what made the Diddler, because it happened to him. People like Clive Davis and Andre Harrell, and I believe, were fucking Puffy, using him as like a sex slave. And then Puffy, and like a lot of people that turn out to be rapists and serial killers, usually they get abused themselves. And Puffy ended up becoming the abuser. He probably didn't start off that way. But he got corrupted by the music business, probably. But yeah, he's like, "Oh, I got to deal with all these white people," and that's true. And Puffy's done this for 3 decades. Fuck people while being in bed with this Illuminati music elite, right? So that's what he meant. He's like, "I do not want my bad things on my name getting out there," because Puffy was like this, this viewed in the public eye as some kind of, I don't know, like just this clean cut guy, like opposite to Suge Knight. He was this clean cut guy who just wanted to make a business and make hits. But it was the absolute opposite. The guy was a fucking shiesty fucking rat bastard. There's one celebrity that I can't stand, right? And even though I've never met him, there is one celebrity that I cannot stand, and that is the diddler. I just fucking hope that someone kills him in prison, to be honest. I don't give a shit about that guy. You know, he's fucked up rap, in my opinion. He is the one who fucked up rap music. If it weren't for the diddler, I don't think we'd be getting any of this drill and trap shit today. So, there you go. So, yeah, and Puffy said that. I mean, people there certifiably say that. So, you know, as that's happening, Tupac's still at the award show, but he actually goes into the award show in the crowd because there's a footage of that. Don't know what time or whatever, but he's hanging around backstage all night, basically. There's fucking loads of pictures. You can check him out. He's dressed in army fatigue, and he looks, if you look at Tupac, look at his face, he's just like, fucking, I want to kill somebody. Like, he's there for war. You can tell by the look on his eye. I can see that, you know, when I look, he has that bishop look in his eye, you know, from the film Juice, you know, when he's in the elevator and Omar Epps, he has that blank stare in his eye, and then he just pulls out a gun. He's just got that look in his eye, like, you know, I've never thought about Tupac as being intimidating. Because he's kind of like a handsome looking person, to be honest. Kind of looks kind of feminist, to be honest. I'm just being honest, okay? So if I saw Tupac, I wouldn't be scared of him. Because he does not look menacing to me. He looks like you know, I'm not going to say like a girl, but I'm just going to say he looks, you know, he's clean cut. He looks very clean cut. So I'm like, you know, but in certain pictures, he looks like a fucking menace, like he wants, you know, that he could kill you. You know, they got that bishop look on him, was what I'm saying. So there's one, yeah, you can tell by the pictures that Tupac is fucking amped, wanting to fight somebody. So after that, Tupac does Hit 'Em Up and does so many diss songs towards Biggie. Even before that, just destroys Biggie. Does the interview with Sway and says that he's basically destroyed Biggie. And the only way that we can sort it out now, because Biggie ain't coming back at me, Biggie's been destroyed, which is true at that time. Biggie didn't have nothing. He didn't say nothing, you know. People were actually laughing at Biggie on the East. People like, you know, Buckshot and Smith and Wesson and all them. They're like fucking laughing at him, like, why ain't he saying nothing? You know, I think Fat Joe tried to get him to do some diss records. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But Tupac in that interview is basically saying he's destroyed Biggie. Tupac by this time, after All Eyes on Me, probably every day he's making at least fucking over 50 songs dissing Bad Boy. Like, don't go to sleep, troublesome, when we ride on our enemies. So many, dumping, one of them. Fucking hell, I could go on and on. Fucking hell, there's so many. I mean, even songs that I did with Snoop, and Snoop was fucking, that's another time anyway. But what I'm saying is, but they're all underground. They didn't come out, they get released. The only people that heard of them songs were Bad Boy Records and other rappers. Right, they were bootlegged and they were sent by tapes, I think. You know what I mean? So I think that Biggie and Puffy heard all these unreleased Tupac disses already, but the world hadn't heard it yet until I think it was April, the month, a couple of weeks after Soul Train, Tupac did Hit 'Em Up. It was the same session that he recorded, did a song called Good Life, where he disses Biggie on that as well. But that's more of a mellow song than Hit 'Em Up. It's kind of more of the most. I don't think it's Tupac's best diss song though, to be honest. My favourite Tupac diss song's Troublesome. Or Against All Odds. But, you know, Hit 'Em Up's classic. I'm not taking anything away from Hit 'Em Up. You know, Tupac murdered it on there. Fatal murdered it. Gaddafi murdered it. Edie murdered it. And there's another version of Hit 'Em Up with Napoleon on. It was supposed to be For All Eyes on Me, but Tupac scrapped that because like I said, he wanted to sell millions. Tupac he was strategic, Tupac. This is what people don't know, is he was strategic. He didn't want to release anything obvious, especially to the worldwide public, to say that he fucked Biggie's wife and he had problems with Biggie and he wanted to kill Because he even said in an interview, this is not for the world to know about. And Tupac had a strategy. He was going to do it once he knew that he was back on top again, which he was after All Eyes on Me. So that leaves Puffy now to say, fuck that, I'm really serious about this now. I need Tupac and Suge out of the way. The rumours at the time that Puffy was trying to kill himself is probably true. I mean, death row guys are really scary. And you couldn't go anywhere, Puffy. I mean, outside, California. And his only lifeline was the Southside Crips, which was Keefy D. And all them. And why Puffy had a relationship with them was because of a New York gangster, a close friend of Mike Tyson's called Zip, who was a very well-known, respected gangster in New York. And he had a business relationship with Puffy, sold a lot of drugs, you know what I'm saying? Like gangsters do drugs, extortion, fucking pimp women, you know, all that cool shit, you know. So, yeah. So Puffy, I think, sneaks out to LA, you know, sneaks in, kind of like some of the Venezuelan guys kind of sneak into this country. We're probably not, like they'd probably do now, yeah. Now that Trump's in charge, they're probably sneaking in, and probably some of them like sneaking out under some tunnel. So Puffy like sneaked into California like a little rat that he is, through the sewers and shit. Went to a place called Green Black's Deli where Keefy D and some Southside Crips and Zip happened to be there. And according to Keefy D, now this could be true or not. What I do believe is Puffy. I do believe Puffy said it, though. Said, I will give you $1 million if you take out Suge and Tupac. So that means 500,000 for Suge, 500,000 for Tupac. I believe he said that. But I don't know in what way he said it. This is where it gets confusing to me. Does it mean he was serious, or is he just saying that because he's angry? Because let's get this straight. That night where Tupac got killed in Vegas, that would have happened anyway. You know, if it doesn't matter whether Tupac had beef with Puffy or nothing, because the reason why Tupac got shot that night was because he hit Orlando. That the Puffy thing was secondary. So the Southside Crips weren't actually in Vegas to kill Tupac that night. It just happened that Tupac jumped on Orlando. And that's what happened. And you know that's what happens with the gangs and Bloods and Crips. You know? Definitely if a rapper does it, you know. It's just that Orlando was a killer, you know? And everyone in that car was. What do you expect? I mean, I hate that what happened because, you know, they took out the biggest rapper ever. And I'm the biggest fan of his. But I'm just, you know, these are just, to me, the facts. So I think Puffy did say that, but whether, in what way, we do not know. It's whether he made that phone call to Zip, you know, and said, like he allegedly said, was it you? If some people have heard it, and Keith D said, yeah, that was us. We shot Tupac. And then Puffy actually agreed to pay the Southside millions and millions. I mean, $1 million. Well, actually, $500,000 because Suge didn't die. Only Tupac died. So, but I think, according to certain people, but this is where things get muddy. I can't say whether this is true or not. There's supposedly some people, even Gene Deal, but he didn't say directly what it was for, said they saw Zip with $1 million check, and that was rumoured to be what Puffy gave Zip, because Zip was in Vegas that night, and Zip provided Keefy D with the gun, the same gun that killed Tupac, allegedly. Now, there's other stories that the Southside Crips got the gun from some other Southside Crips in Vegas, because they had subsets of the Southside Crips in Vegas out there at the time. So, I don't know. It could be either one of them, I don't know. But all I know is Puffy weren't losing any sleep over hearing that Tupac and Suge got dead, and was probably happy that it happened, you know. And probably did. I don't, you know, this It needs to be verified. It's very cloudy when it comes to that. But I would not be surprised if that happened. You know, not at all. Puffy's a fucking snake. You know. And if it weren't for Puffy, would Tupac have hit Orlando? Because why did Tupac hit Orlando? Because of a chain snatch. And why was the chain snatch? Because Puffy allegedly put out a bounty on a death row chain. So Tupac's probably thinking, I've never looked at it this way actually. Tupac's probably thinking over here in Trevon saying, yo, that's that Orlando guy who jumped Trevon at the mall. He's thinking, oh yeah, he's the guy, the Crips, because Tupac probably knew that the Southside Crips were on Bad Boys payroll. He even said in the interview, this is why I'm the reason why they've got everyone's got a gangbanger on the payroll now. I'm the main reason for that. Yeah, so there was a chain snatch at the Foot Locker in some shopping district in South Central LA. Orlando Anderson took the chain from Trevon, one of Death Row's mob pyros, and it became a gang thing. It switched from a music thing to a straightly gang, Bloods and Crips. And the South Side and the mob and Bloods and Crips and Crips kill Crips. It happens every fucking day, so. But, I never looked at it like this. Like, Tupac probably saw Puffy for, oh yeah, he paid the Southsiders to snatch that chain. So, I'm fired up anyway because he's wild up after the Tyson fight. There's an interview where he's like, 60 blows. So, yeah. He probably, I don't know whether he looked at it like that or he was just being hot-headed or whatever. But whatever reason, it could have been because of Puffy. He had something to do with Puffy. And anyone who was affiliated with Puffy or had anything to do with Bad Boy was open. It was open season on him as far as Tupac was concerned. So that's probably why Tupac hit Orlando. So Puffy is kind of responsible for a lot of bullshit. But anyway, I might get back on this subject one day. And yes, I just thought I would because there's not much to really. I didn't think there's much else to fucking talk about, to be honest. And I just felt like talking about it because I just listened to some couple of songs. And it just gave me an idea because I know so much information, shall I say? Not that I know, because if you know, you've experienced it.